the reckless and irresponsible pardons of hundreds of violent felons on January 6th has consequences. There are consequences to that, beyond me.
As someone who has been threatened with death, with murder from a Trump supporter, as someone whose wife has been threatened with death and rape from a Trump supporter for just sharing our opinions, this particular topic is sensitive and it's near to me. We did see a conviction in the case. It was mild. It didn't go as far as it should have gone. But Donald Trump has absolutely normalized political violence in our country and then whines when it comes his way. He incites and encourages and promotes political violence. And then when someone takes a shot at him, it made the campaign for him. Fight, fight, fight. All the Republicans act like they are the victims, even though all of the stats bear out the fact that right-wing extremism is the chief source of political violence and domestic terrorism in our country. And it's continuing. Donald Trump pardoned nearly 1,600 people for their participation in the January 6th insurrection, the attempt to overthrow the United States government by an effort to overturn a free and fair, settled American election. An election that Donald Trump still maintains was rigged, that he actually won, even though Joe Biden won by 7 million plus votes. And a lot of the people he pardoned were violent. They went there with intent to harm. They chanted, "Hang Mike Pence." They constructed, and not a hastily erected hangman's gallows on the lawn of the United States Capitol. They erected it with a plan to use it. Why chant "Hang Mike Pence" over and over and over with hundreds of people saying it, if not to do it, when there was the implement to do so, to murder the seated Vice President of the United States, Donald Trump's Vice President of the United States. And now we're seeing violence from the very people Donald Trump let off the hook for their crimes. Calls them political prisoners, the people who attempted to overthrow the United States government. And now one has been arrested by a state official, not a federal official, for threatening to kill Hakeem Jeffries. This is from the New York Times. Pardoned January 6 rioter charged with threatening Hakeem Jeffries. That would be a beautiful and perfect headline if they were to stop there. If there wasn't this sub-headline, "Get a load of this," from the New York Times, who has absolutely lost the plot. Why do they need to add this to that headline? Again, pardoned January 6 rioter charged with threatening Hakeem Jeffries. The New York man, Christopher Moynihan, appears to be the only rioter so far who has been charged again with committing an offense against an elected official. What? Why do they need that clarification? This is an attempt to ingratiate themselves to Donald Trump, to not draw the ire of Donald Trump. But let me give you a message, New York Times. This ain't gonna save you. CBS bending the knee, ABC bending the knee. It didn't save them. He still whines and complains and initiates venom and vitriol from his base against them. Kissing Trump's ass isn't going to get you anywhere. An upstate New York man pardoned by President Trump after taking part in the attack on the Capitol on January 6, 2021, was charged last week with a new crime, threatening to assassinate Representative Hakeem Jeffries, the House Democratic leader, at an event in New York City. The man, Christopher P. Moynihan, 34, sent text messages to an unknown associate on Friday threatening Mr. Jeffries' life, according to a criminal complaint issued by local prosecutors in Dutchess County, New York. Again, Donald Trump's DOJ, they're not going to look into this. They're not going to prosecute this. They're not going to investigate this. It takes a local official at the state level to get it done. Quote, Hakeem Jeffries makes a speech in a few days in New York City. I cannot allow this terrorist to live, the complaint quoted Mr. Moynihan as saying, quote, even if I am hated, he must be eliminated. I will kill him for the future. Now, where have we heard that language before? 7 million plus people just marched in the No Kings protest last weekend. And Donald Trump labeled them terrorists, terrorist sympathizers. Mike Johnson labeled all of us. I wasn't there because I'm still in Japan, in Osaka, in a hotel room right now. But Stephen Miller has also been calling the Democratic Party a domestic extremist organization, aka terrorists. They whine and say you can't call somebody a fascist, even though Donald Trump has called everybody fascists for years. You can't do it, otherwise violence will come from that. Yet, this is what we get. When you use words like terrorist, under Republicans' own logic, that's what you get, right? Yeah. Well, here's Mike Johnson dialing it back, saying this shouldn't be political, this shouldn't be political, and then in the very next breath makes it political while explaining away this threat against his colleague, Hakeem Jeffries.
I don't know any of the details of this at all. I don't know who's been alleged to have been involved in this. I will say that anybody who threatens political violence against elected officials or anyone else should be have the full weight and measure of the Department of Justice on their head. I trust that will happen. I hope it will. We are intellectually consistent about that, obviously. I will tell you this. The violence on the left is far more prevalent than the violence on the right. Don't make me go through the list. You all know it. All of these the assassination culture that's been advanced now, this is the left in almost every case that is advancing this and not the right. So let's not make it a partisan issue. You don't want me to go there. We're just going to say anybody, any deranged individual, this has to stop. And the rhetoric that you saw on display on Saturday, we highlighted yesterday, it plays into this, okay? There are people that get triggered. There are deranged people in society when they hear elected officials participating in a rally that was paid for by Soros and sponsored by communists with signs and placards and mantras that were repeated that we should bring death to, fascist politicians. What they mean is they call every Republican a fascist now. They're calling for the death of elected officials. Please, enough of that. We got to stop it. Stop the rhetoric, stop all the nonsense, and stop the violence.
Thank you.
Look, I'm not going to address it because I'm not sure of the details of this, and I think we've said enough. You know where we stand, and every one of you should stand there the same way. We denounce violence from anybody, anytime. Those people should be arrested and tried. Thanks.
He sure doesn't know any details at all about anything when it's something important. Oh, I haven't seen that. I don't know any of the details. Oh, I'm just totally in the dark, says Mike Johnson. What is it like to have a absolutely feckless and opinionless, someone who's so out of tune with the news as Speaker of the House of Representatives, who's the leader of the House of Representatives, the entire body, not knowing about threats to members? It's because they're Democrats. Hakeem Jeffries was asked about this, and he said, he summarized kind of the same thing that I'm talking about, except he is the target of the threat, and I think we should hear from him.
What do you make of it? The person accused of threatening you is the recipient of one of those blanket pardons.
I think the reckless and irresponsible pardons of hundreds of violent felons on January 6th has consequences, as eloquently articulated by Representative Jamie Raskin. There are consequences to that, beyond me. Beyond me. The consequences are, we've seen crimes committed by people who Donald Trump pardoned on the first day he was sworn into office, by folks who have been released back into society all across the country. Some of them violent crimes. And so there are consequences to these irresponsible actions, and not a single House Republican has walked away from them, not a single one. There are consequences when these extremists who are part of the Trump administration label the entirety of the Democratic Party as terrorists or criminals. There are consequences to that beyond us. We all know what we've signed up for, but there's pain being visited upon the American people because of actions taken by Donald Trump, supported by House Republicans and Senate Republicans on day one of his presidency.
He's almost there. He's getting there. Donald Trump, it was by design to pardon these people, these criminals, these terrorists. And that's what they are. When you commit violence with the intent of a political motive, with an outcome that is related to politics, that's terrorism. That's what these people are. And Donald Trump knew what he was doing to pardon en masse 1,600 people who attempted to violently overthrow the United States government. He knew this was the unorganized militia that he's been champing at the bit for. He knew. Donald Trump, this is by design. This is a feature, not a bug. The Republican Party is systematically trying to whip the base into a frenzy, into a fury to get someone killed, while whining about Donald Trump's assassination attempt. He didn't get shot in the ear, probably got his ear caught on the hammer of somebody's pistol or on their holster, but he wasn't shot in the ear. He wouldn't have an ear left if a round had gotten close enough to do the damage to his ear that wasn't even damaged. There's not a scar on his ear. We are in a very, very tight spot in the United States of America right now. Mainly, it wouldn't be as tight if we had major societal influence waking up, whether that be the mainstream media, whether that be corporate Democrats. Hopefully, this is a moment that's going to animate people like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer to action. It can't be tersely worded emails and demands to negotiate. We're beyond negotiating with the Republican Party. They are trying to get our leaders killed. They are trying to foment violence, to encourage violence, to incite violence, just like they did on January 6th. This is where we are. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. We can have a conversation in the comments, or you can call, leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I'm glad to be back. There's so much to talk about. I will see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.